morning. Good morning. Today I'm talking about how we don't really recognize the emotional void that we may bury underneath and how we continue to build on top of that. And this came to me while I'm having construction work going on outside my home. And we don't realize that we sometimes top up ourselves with emotional pain and information overload without really processing the emotions. The void lies underneath the surface, but we continue to pile up more emotional pain and trauma without addressing them. And at a point, we become oversaturated and we can't bear it anymore, and we begin to have outbursts. And so I will show a clips of what's going on outside my home to kind of represent what I'm speaking about so that you can begin to get a deep understanding of how emotional wounds affect you and how you can begin to address them so they don't become a pile of rubble that sink your life into a ditch that you don't belong in, and also allow so much water saturation to begin to grow mold in the dry walls of the home without you really recognizing what the source of the breathing problems are and how you get stuck in life. So many times we don't realize that there is a void underneath everything that we see on the surface, and we kind of continue to bury emotional wounds that enlarge the void that we have within but don't necessarily see it. And so today it's really helping you uncover areas where you can begin to pinpoint how we load information on top of information on top of pain and just continue to build layers, but deep within there is a hole. Based on the clips that I shared with you of what's going on in the foundation of my home outside the house, what are the things that you can begin to deduce from the emotional pain and trauma you may have experienced in the past that you may not have healed from? What are the patterns and cycles that you've noticed that you've repeated, or things that you've mirrored from the previous generation that are now affecting you emotionally, mentally, physically, and not really helping you get beyond where you are to where you necessarily need to be? What are those things that you continue to discover in relationships that are repeated, that have made you think that all partners are the same? What work have you done to begin to heal yourself of some of those emotional pain? I really want to challenge you to begin to write down these things as you think of them, because no one can truly heal you except you start to do the work in your own life. And the healing work is a very painful process. It's like peeling out the layers of onions, and your eyes are getting watery and you're crying and you are literally feeling much more pain than you did when you acquired the pain itself. And so as you begin to uncover and unravel the pain, the layers of trauma that you've built that have now become like a rock and resulted in emotional numbness, allow yourself to feel and experience those emotions. Sit with them, name them, journal down your thoughts about them. Journal down what happened in this situation, and what role did you play? What role did the other person play? What lessons are you learning from this emotional, painful experiences? What happens when you don't process the emotions as you begin to look at what you're writing down? What happens when you don't process the emotions? The answers will come to you because you already have everything that you need. You've been equipped with everything that you need on earth when God created you. And as you uncover this, you start to work through the healing process. Get professional support when you feel like it's becoming overwhelming, that you cannot handle it by yourself, because there are people that God has placed in our lives as support roles to really help us get beyond those. And as you begin to touch on each area, have compassion on yourself. Be kind to yourself, because you didn't know better when these things happen. Be kind to yourself and say, you know what? I choose kindness today. I choose to liberate myself today, because kindness is indeed an attribute of love, and truth is also an attribute of love. And as you begin to accept what is, which is the truth, and what you can control that you need to let go of, release and allow yourself to gain the knowledge and wisdom that begins to liberate you. You will find this process very challenging, but challenges are always stepping stones for us to get to the next level of greatness that God has created us for. And so as you go through this, you may need to drop some people off your life because they're not going to help you get better, and that's okay. You may need to isolate yourself to process your thoughts, and that's okay. You may need to cry. Crying is a form of releasing trauma from the body, and that's okay. Whatever you need to do, make sure you're doing what works best for you, not what works best for anybody else, because your life was handed to you by God, and you are indeed the CEO. You are the one who holds the script, and you determine who comes on the journey. And as you begin to do the emotional healing work, know that it's not everything that you will heal from at the same time. It may take 6 months, it may take 10 months, it may take 1 year, it may take more than a number of years, and that's okay. Because what you're doing is you're choosing to commit to yourself, and you're choosing to begin to do the work to free yourself and to step into a place of love where you can be true to yourself and live in the truest form of life that was handed to you by God. Remember to never stop loving while living. When you stop loving, you stop living. When you stop living, it means it's time to go back to the Maker. But while you're still here, make sure you're uncovering everything. You're not waiting until the water continues to soak in. You're not waiting until there's a lot of information overload that you don't even know what's going on underneath anymore. You've become numb on the surface, and the water keeps piling up and sinking into the basement without you recognizing that your basement is getting flooded, your life is getting flooded, and you're not able to pinpoint that source of void that you need to heal from, the emotional pain that you bury that you need to heal from, so that when you uncover, you can now start to take out the rotten wood from the basement walls, and you can now, waterproof, seal your life with the truth. Waterproof and seal your life with the truth, so that when you accept the truth every time something happens and you take the time to introspect, you liberate yourself from pain and you move into a space of love and purpose. Remember, life is only lived once, and you want to live it free of pain and sorrow, because God never deemed those for us. We experience those so that we can step into our next level of faith and growth and become more resilient as we continue to live, breathe, and have our being. Until next time, take good care. God bless. Bye-bye.